Hey boys, it's me 420 Dragon, and today we're going to be taking a look at some of the new cards from the set Phyrexia All Will Be One that are going to be legal in Pauper, and these are going to be the cards that I think could potentially see play in Pauper. Make sure to click the subscribe button down below if you enjoy the content, and yeah, enjoy the video. Alright boys, so today we're going to be taking a look at the new set Phyrexia All Will Be One. We're going to be taking a look at some of the cards I think are playable in Pauper or have potential and could end up showing up in Pauper format. So first of all, I think this is my take for the best card in the set for Pauper is Planner Disruption. 1 and a white for an enchantment aura, enchanted creature, artifact, or planeswalker. Enchanted permanent can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can be activated. So this card is like a pacifism effect, but it also hits artifact lands. That is a big deal, boys. So I think that this card is going to be pretty strong, since it's just able to hit the artifact lands out of affinity. It doesn't care that they're indestructible. They can sack it to Deadly Dispute, which kind of sucks, but whatever. And it does still make affinity, but, you know, it's still kind of like a stone, right? Which is pretty good. And then also it's going to be able to hit the 5/5s out of blue-black 5/5s deck. Next we got the lands. There's a whole cycle of these. They are basically enter the battlefield tapped, add a color, and then you pay 1 and the color and sack it and draw a card. I think these could definitely see some play. They're kind of like cycling lands, except for probably more slanted towards decks that want the land a lot of the time. And then maybe in the late game you want to sack off the land if you're breaking off. I think I could see playing like one of these in like Familiars or something. This guy, Malcator's Watcher, I think this guy is decent. Flying Vigilance, 1/1 for 2. Artifact. When he dies, you draw a card. I think he could be okay if you need something to throw in front of some fairies. I think this card could be totally fine. I don't know. I feel like I usually overrate cards like this, so it's probably kind of bad, but maybe it sees play. Prologue to Phyrexia. This card kind of gets me going. A lot of people have been talking about it in like Familiars or something like that. I don't think that's very good. I don't think you really need that type of effect in the Familiars deck. But where I do want to play this card is in some sort of blue-black proliferate deck. I think that could be really fun. We've seen some sort of like really bad, never like doing well in tournaments, but some sort of blue-black proliferate decks already that use the depletion lands and then proliferate onto those, and then you're basically playing you know, Ancient Tomb lands that make colored mana, which is pretty good. So this could be pretty sweet in a deck like that, and it's definitely a deck I want to try out, is some sort of blue-black poison-y proliferate deck. Definitely want to try that out at some point when the new set comes out. Next we got Blazing Crescendo. I think this card could be pretty good for some of the Blitz decks. 1 and a red instant. Target creature gets +3/+1 until end of turn, and then also exile the top card of your deck until the end of your turn. You may play that card. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. Maybe this actually even sees play in just regular old red. It is kind of vulnerable to removal, but it's a pretty powerful effect. Able to do 3 damage and draw a card. It's pretty strong. So maybe this ends up seeing some play. Whispers of the Dross. This card could go pretty decently in the Infect, or the blue-black proliferate deck, rather. 1 mana, target creature gets -1/-1 proliferate. It's a pretty cheap effect. Gives you proliferate. Could be worth playing if that ends up being a deck. Infectious Query. Draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. Each opponent gets a poison counter for 3. Sorcery. Could be playable if the blue-black poison counters proliferate ends up being a deck. This card also could be playable if blue-black proliferate ends up being a deck. 5 mana, draw 3 cards, sorcery, proliferate. This card's probably not going to see play. It might not even see play even if that does end up being a deck, but throw it on here just because it is an interesting effect. Draw 3 cards for 5 mana is not bad rate. And then with the proliferate, that is something that could be taken advantage of. Vraska's Fall. It's basically 3 mana Edict, and they get a poison counter. Could be okay if that ends up being a deck. This card's actually not bad. 2 2 mana, counter target spell unless the controller pays 2, turns into an actual hard counter if they have 3 or more poison counters. I think this card is totally fine, actually. And could be one of the reasons that blue-black proliferate ends up being a deck, if it does end up being a deck. So this card is totally not bad, and I think could do decent work as additional copies of Counterspell or easier to cast Counterspell in a proliferate strategy. Fleshless Gladiator, this card's actually not bad. 2 mana, 2/2. You can pay 3, return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, and you lose a life, but only if an opponent has 3 or more poison counters. This could be another reason to play the blue-black deck, the blue-black proliferate deck. Just bringing it back at 2/2, it can block. It does come in tapped, which kind of sucks, but it can block, so that is pretty valuable, and can do a lot of work, so maybe that ends up being pretty good. And then we got the spell bombs, or the skull bombs rather, excuse me, which they're kind of expensive. They're one to cast, 1 to crack to draw a card like the other spell bombs. Or you can pay 2 extra and then sack it, return a creature to its owner's hand and draw a card for the blue one. Or you can return a creature from a graveyard to your hand for the black one and draw a card. This is probably the best one. Or you can give something +3/+2 trample. The red one's kind of trash, so I didn't put it on here. And the white one is also kind of trash, so I didn't put it on here. But these are pretty interesting. I could see them seeing play. Mostly the black one. Maybe the blue one could see some play too. But yeah. A Knight with Affliction. This card could be okay, actually. Exile target creature if it has mana value 3 or less. And then just exile that creature if its controller has 3 or more poison counters. So this could be pretty decent. It can hit like Enforcer. It does exile, which is actually a pretty big deal against, you know, Blood Fountain, and some of the blue-black decks will play some Crawl from the Cellar that gets their creature back from the graveyard. So I think this card could be okay if there ends up being a blue-black proliferate strategy. Could definitely see play in that. Experimental Augury. This is another card that could work well in the blue-black proliferate strategy. It's basically an anticipate, but you also proliferate. Pretty strong effect. I think it's a good enough reason to not play Impulse, the proliferate effect. So I think this card actually could be one of the reasons that ends up being a deck, if it does end up being a deck, and definitely one of the reasons I want to try that deck out. Then last but not least, we got Bladegraft Aspirant. This card definitely sucks, but it could be playable. Maybe, I mean, not really, but it has a cool effect, so I wanted to put it on here. Equipment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Activated abilities of equipment you control that target Bladegraft Aspirant cost 1 less to activate, and it's 3 mana, 2/3 menace. So you could do some interesting stuff like this, like play 0 mana Bone Splitters and equip them for 0 mana, but I mean, I don't know how powerful that is. It's probably pretty weak. Let's be honest, but you know, it's an interesting effect. I wanted to put it on here. This card caught my eye. But yeah, so that's going to be the cards that I think could end up seeing play in Pauper from the new set Phyrexia All Will Be One. So let me know what you guys think. If you guys think I missed anything, if you guys think I underrated any of these cards, if you guys think I overrated any of these cards, and just let me know down in the comment section below, boys. And take it easy.